This is The Herd. Hour 3 live, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. It's Los Angeles. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. Holly Saunders joining me for Hour 3 today. By the way, I love the NFL. I love the NFL. Both teams from the NFC title game last year, right? Minnesota and Philadelphia both will basically upgrade at quarterback next year. Wentz back for the Eagles, and Kirk Cousins better than Case Keenum. So the two teams that made the NFC will be better at quarterback than they were at the end of this year. Wow. By the way, I love what the Chicago Bears are doing. I've already told you this year I said the Rams and Carolina would be the most improved teams. This year I'm going to go with San Francisco and Chicago. The Bears have signed Allen Robinson, a wide receiver, and former Eagle tight end Trey Burton. Being, by the way, in Green Bay, crickets, nothing. Zippo, aloha, nothing in Green Bay. Yeah, here's in Green Bay. NFL free agency today. Let's start with the biggest name. Kirk Cousins, it's being reported, made the right decision. He's going to be a Minnesota Viking. This was the right call. Of course, Minnesota overpaid for him. Listen, there are a handful of things in life you overpay for. As I always say, central air in Arizona, overpay for it. A winter coat in the Northeast, overpay for it. A quarterback in the NFL, you're probably going to have to cut corners elsewhere. They overpaid a little bit for Kirk Cousins. I don't love the deal, but I love the direction of the Minnesota Vikings, and it tells me a lot about Kirk Cousins, okay? Because I've said this over and over again. Don't chase just money in life. Money's important. I get it. You got kids. You got college. You got a future. You want a house. Listen, money's important. Chase good management. There's a sea of money out there. There's not a lot of good managers. There's not a lot of great NFL teams. There's not a lot of great scouting departments. Minnesota is really, really well run, and the Jets, his other choice, are not. Minnesota's got two legitimate game-breaking wide receivers, a star running back, a great defense, a solid head coach, a tremendous front office, and they play indoors. 8 guaranteed games, actually 9 if you count the Lions, every year. Kirk Cousins doesn't have the world's strongest arm. The Jets have no receiving core. Their tight end apparently leaving. The running game in shambles. A defensive head coach, we don't know how good he is. And they play all their games outdoors. And then they travel to Foxborough outdoors. And then they travel to Buffalo outdoors. And they play all their home games in the NFL's windiest stadium. And he's got no weapons. Minnesota has a surplus of weapons. Tight end, 2 receivers, 2 good backs. Now, I do believe Minnesota has to work on their offensive line. To me, it's the weakness of the franchise, but their front office has shown ability to patch up things and get really good players, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round and undrafted players. But this was an easy one, man. If you're going to get rich at both places, then don't worry about being the richest. If you're going to get rich working for this company and you're going to get rich working for this company, then don't make the rich thing the primary thing. The quality of front office, the quality of environment, the quality of weapons, the quality across the board was Minnesota. This was really a no-brainer. I was writing something down this morning, and I was writing down if Kirk Cousins, I have it on paper here, if he went to the Jets, it would tell me he's got horrible judgment. First of all, the guy has made $46 million in the last 2 years because he's been franchised. So Kirk Cousins, I mean, deep down in his heart, he doesn't really want to ever believe this. He's been overpaid the last 2 years. The last 2 years, he's been paid above his level. He is a B to a B plus on his best nights. He's not an A. He's not quite as talented as Matt Ryan. I don't think he's quite as talented as Alex Smith, but he's good, and I think he could get to a Super Bowl with Minnesota. I do. He's better than Case Keenum. He's not as good as Phillip Rivers. But I've watched Super Bowls for 40 years. If you have Minnesota's rosters, with those receivers, that defense, that coaching, you can get to a Super Bowl. And that's what you're in this game for. Can you get to a Super Bowl? Minnesota now can. And here's the other thing that absolutely jumps out to me. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers, what have I been saying for years, have wasted 5 to 7 years of Aaron Rodgers' career. I wouldn't make him a favorite to win the division. Green Bay has done the impossible in the NFL. They have no cap space and a bad roster. Generally, if you've got a bad roster, Cleveland, you have a surplus of cap space. San Francisco's rebuilding. They need some pieces. A surplus of cap space. Green Bay's got no cap space and not many great players. And the ones they have, Jordy Nelson, may have to get rid of him. I don't know how you do that. It's almost impossible in the NFL. I don't like their roster, and they have no cap space. So I think Minnesota, with Kirk Cousins, this division has officially changed. It has officially changed. It will be the Minnesota Vikings division for the foreseeable future. All right, let me shift to this. I got a lot of stuff today. When I was young, my car caught on fire on the freeway, and I pulled into a Texaco in Las Vegas and took a cab to a Nissan dealer and bought a car and a credit card. I had a $1,500 limit, and that's what I put down. And I'm telling this story because when you're young and you're out of college and you're not making stuff, you got to get that car right. Otherwise, you're doing like I was doing. Every 6 hours, you were pulling into a gas station to put in coolant because you had a leak. If you're always stressing out, there's anxiety about, is the car going to get me to work, to my date, to my boss, to my meeting? Once I got my car fixed in Vegas, life was great. Got a girlfriend, got a life, got a job. I was reliable. Once I got transportation buttoned up. Think about this. The San Francisco 49ers, for a year I banged on this. Why aren't teams giving up multiple picks for Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't understand it. I don't get it. Bill Belichick's never drafted, Brady included, a quarterback higher than Jimmy Garoppolo in New England. We've seen him in the preseason. We've seen him start in the regular season. We heard multiple reports inside the building they loved him. We heard multiple scouts say, Garoppolo is ready to be a franchise quarterback. And San Francisco only had to give up a second-round pick. Like transportation in your 20s, look at the direction of the 49ers now that they went out and signed the franchise quarterback. This morning, Minnesota had to overpay for one. The Jets reportedly are going to sign Teddy Bridgewater. Good luck with that arm and that wind. Arizona doesn't know what they're doing right now. I don't know what they're doing right now. Maybe they do, but they don't have a quarterback. The only team now in the NFC that doesn't have a franchise quarterback. Denver reportedly is going to sign Case Keenum, but may draft Josh Rosen at 5 as well because they don't really think Case Keenum's next level. The reason I love the Niners as my most improved team in the league next year, Garoppolo was sitting out there for 2 years. And I kept going on the air saying, what is going on? Look at the available quarterbacks this offseason. These were the available guys. Cousins, Bradford, Bridgewater, A.J. McCarron, Josh McCown, and a bunch of guys in college. Wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo significantly better than all of them? And the guys on the right are college quarterbacks, more tested. Transportation in your 20s. Get it buttoned up. It'll change everything. Look at the Niners offseason now. They have Garoppolo. They can move down in the draft. There's no panic. There's no desperation. There's no overpaying. They have all the leverage in the world. Head coach, check. Franchise quarterback, check. You drive to work every day worrying about, want to move down and get a left tackle? Want to stay here? Both at work. I didn't get it then. I don't get it now. San Francisco is going to be really good and a playoff team for most of the next decade because they did what was obvious and what I still can't figure out why most of the league didn't. They gave up a good draft pick to get the best quarterback available on the market in the last year. Really interesting to see where Arizona goes. We had Steve Keim on, sharp guy, their general manager. I have been told by an NFC executive that the teams that didn't get Kirk Cousins are on the phone right now. There is a little panic, and I would take that to mean Arizona. Garoppolo was there. I don't get it. Don't get it. Peter King joined us earlier, had a couple of interesting comments, and we'll have those coming up. Got some exciting news from Simply Safe, a home security company we introduced to you a couple years ago. A bunch of guys in college got robbed who couldn't afford a security system, so they made one. They were Harvard guys. I guess you have to go to Harvard to kind of, figure out how to build a security system. Well, they've redone it now. It is the new Simply Safe, and it has been built. They've added safeguards, okay, to protect against downed Wi-Fi, power outages, and cut landlines. Redesigned to be practically invisible. But the good news is you still get the same remarkable price, under $15 a month. Smaller, faster, stronger, leaner than anything before. Protect your home and your family. SimplySafeColin.com. That's C-O-L-I-N. SimplySafeColin.com. Get there now to order.